Hey everybody, it's Bunny Pounds with another conversation with Christians Engaged. We are in February and it is our book club episode. At the beginning of each month, we try to have an interview with an author and we try to encourage you to read. It's very easy to just get in the habit of binge watching Netflix, checking out your favorite shows on Hulu, but not really getting educated on what we need to be learning in this season. And part of our vision this year is to dig deep, to help people dig deep in the Word of God on the issues in our culture right now, but also to educate us ourselves on theology, on political philosophy, on great biographies. And I have met Gabriela Gerhart, who's going to be with us today, at an event a while back, and she was talking about her book, After the Fall. This is her book, After the Fall, My Journey to Freedom from Communism to Capitalism. A great book. I just told Gabriela I'm really coveting her life of travel with her husband because they get to go everywhere. But she is the founder of Motherhood Center in Houston, Texas. She came here from Czechoslovakia as a young woman and has been married 21 years. And it's just saw the difference between communism and freedom in America. And I just felt like this book was important for us to study, to read this month as we talk about what the founders gave us in voting and all of the things that we need to be focusing on in February, especially Texans that are going to the polls. And then nationally, as we think about what we've been given as Americans and how we protect that in the years ahead. So, Gabriela, it is so great to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very honored to be on your podcast, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, you wrote a great biography. It has so many really cute tidbits of your life, from even what foods you like to eat and where you like to travel. And your husband has a plane and you guys head out all over the country. But talk to us a little bit about why did you write this book and why did you feel it was important to tell your story of growing up in Czechoslovakia and to where you are now?
Sure. So it really, I was never kind of like planning to write a book. It just was a little bit of a kind of a spur of the moment thing. And it really, living in America, I would be talking to a lot of different people and sharing different stories. And it was usually, well, tell me more. I want to know more. And a lot of it was just relating to, growing up in communism and just the different philosophies or different ways of doing things. And so in general, people wanted to learn more because not a lot of people met somebody from communist country. And when COVID hit, it was really just kind of, it hit me hard because I was going to be celebrating 20-year anniversary of my business, and we were planning to have an open house and just kind of all these celebration, and all of a sudden it was, well, you need to shut down your business and you might not have a business. And of course, I'm in the pregnancy and baby business, and so you cannot put pregnancy on hold. And so we, of course, needed to figure out something to help our clients and kind of help them on this journey. And one of the kind of, I guess, defining or kind of triggering moments was the stories I was told during communism, when my grandparents had a grocery store. It was the known local grocery store. And when communism took over, they basically took over their store. And so all of a sudden, my grandparents, which were entrepreneurs, and they were supporting themselves and had employees and supporting other people, all of a sudden they became employees of the government. And that was, of course, it's like, how is that possible? And all of a sudden, it was just kind of this internal feeling like, what else? Now I'm shutting down business and I have, 60 people which are depending on the success of my business or our business. And so that was one of the things. And so I start it was just really kind of internally, it started kind of boiling in a
Yes.
way. And so that was really kind of what kind of triggered the writing of the book. And of course, I'm kind of a self-proclaimed workaholic, and I love working, and
Me
I love
too.
working hard. And and again, being in the pregnancy and baby business, it's 7 days a week, 365. And so all of a sudden, my days changed. All of a sudden, it was not working 12 hours in my business or on my business. All of a sudden there was kind of an extra freer time, or kind of my schedules completely changed with the COVID shutdowns. And so that really kind of if there's a silver lining, which it's a little overused word now, but it's really allowed me to just really kind of refocus, I guess, and allow me to have some freer time to actually start writing a book and putting my thoughts on the paper.
Well, you're my sister from another mother, because I'm the same way. Like, my staff will say, Bunny, if she has an hour or 2 hours, she will figure out how to fill it. So, I'm glad that you were productive to write this book, because it is very, very important that we hear the stories of immigrants right now that grew up in not understanding the freedom that we take so often for granted. We become complacent in this country, and we sometimes don't see the signs of what the stealing of our liberties mean to our lives. So tell us about growing up in the education system. How did the educational system in Czechoslovakia under communism kind of lure you into their ways? And then how did the government kind of enforce that? If you could give us a couple stories and examples from your childhood.
Sure. To start with is growing up as a child, you don't even know that there is anything else but communism. It's not like you will be, in a history class, and it's like, oh, so we have communism, and there is this freedom, there is that America, there is the democracy. So you don't really hear about any of that. So probably kind of the older generation, they knew kind of the difference, but also you cannot talk about it, right?
Right.
My parents, it was really with my parents, it was first time we talked politics is when I started working on the book.
Oh, wow.
And it was very sensitive conversation, because when you are a child, children, whatever they hear at home, they go to school and say something to the teacher innocently. And so parents, my parents or my parents' friends, nobody spoke politics, or just really about like, is there a difference than the communism? So you'd never heard about any of that. And so you are just kind of growing up that this is kind of what it is. You don't, being, when you have all of the information, you have radio, TV, newspaper, everything is censored. So you are getting just that one information, right? I mean, even articles before they would be published, in the newspaper, they would be censored, making sure that it's aligned with the philosophies, and so you don't really know anything kind of on the outside world. Plus, you are not allowed to travel, right? And so it's not like you go to another country and see what they have in the grocery store, or what kind of cars they are driving, or music, almost kind of what they are listening. So everything is kind of censored. And so you are kind of living in a world right? And so for me, one of the, again, kind of defining moments was when I was in the 8th grade, and when communism fell in Czech Republic and throughout Europe. Of course, I didn't know that, again, there's anything different than what I was living. And so the day after communism fell, our history teacher came to our class, and she basically said, well, we will have to relearn the history. And it's like, what do you mean we have to relearn the history, right? I mean, so we were lied to. And so even to this day, I have just a lot of kind of issues and kind of concerns about the truth, and I'm always seeking the truth, because I felt like, you are 14, 15-year-old and somebody tells you, we taught you a lie. So like I said, it's just very kind of defining and kind of a concerning thing to hear as a child.
That is really interesting. I have a dear friend on our board of directors, Samuel Bistrian from Romania. He leads a company called Roma Boots, and the same thing. He's always on the quest for the truth, and that's probably kind of in your DNA, coming out of that place where you didn't get the truth, and now you're seeing some signs even in America of things that are happening during this season that you're like, that's crazy. So you went to college, you got a nursing degree, and then you kind of got dissatisfied. Tell us a little bit about what caused you to come here. You came to America as a au pair, and you didn't know hardly any English. I mean, when I got to that part of the book, I was like, wow. I mean, you don't realize the sacrifice. Here's somebody that had already gone through university. You had a professional career, and yet you're starting all over again. What would cause you to do that?
So I need to kind of clarify that a little bit. So it was not that I was dissatisfied. It really what happened is with my kind of a dual degree, which is a pediatric nursing and physical therapy degree, I had an opportunity to start working in a private hospital in my hometown. And it was very known doctor. And I basically knew once I start that position, it's pretty much for the rest of my life, right? That's kind of how it's been, how everybody is like, well, you start a job and 30 years later, you are still there. And so that was kind of my vision. That's kind of how I thought that things will be. And so I did ask her if she would wait for me for a year, and that I wanted to just go to America, just travel, learn language, and just kind of explore. And after that, I will come back. And so she agreed. Of course, the plan was not for me to, meet my husband when I was here just 4 months and fell in love and, end up living in America. But yes, kind of my professional career at that point, because the educational system was very different. So none of my courses, nothing basically translated to American educational system. And so I applied with different hospitals and different clinics and, for the nursing and for the physical therapy. And basically everywhere was like, no, you need to start all over. And I guess that's kind of where my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. And my grandparents' genetics. And so my husband got a call from a friend of a friend. We just came home from the hospital and we have a newborn and we have no idea what to do, but we've heard that your wife does. And because of my, year as an au pair here in America, I was very familiar because I was taking care of 10-day-old baby and 5, 7, and 9-year-old. And that's how I learned English because I had to read the baby books to the baby and do homework with the boys. So I had to have a dictionary and learn what they are supposed to learn and do homework with them. And I was watching the show Friends.
All
so I
those
would
Friends
be watching
fans
that.
out there, yeah.
Yes. And so I would have the subtitles and, of course, kind of the auditory and visual. And so that helped me. And of course, with my husband, I had to learn as well. And so he was very helpful to correct my sentences and my words. And so that's kind of how I learned. But I do hear that a lot, even a lot of my staff members, I can have pediatrician from Ukraine, and she comes to America, and she's basically starting all over. None of her education transferred, and you hear that all the time. From all the immigrants that they are willing to leave all of that behind for the freedom America can offer them.
So talk about that. Here you are, an entrepreneur. You have a successful business. You're helping mothers all over the Houston area and beyond. With breastfeeding education, doulas, massage, all of the things that just are so helpful. I mean, I wish I'd known about you when I had my babies. But, you found love and marriage here, but you also found a culture and a heritage and a foundation in America that really, you define in this book, it really changed your life. Can you describe that for all of us Americans that grew up here? What do we have? What is the treasure that we have here that you was willing to start over for?
Sure. I mean, it's, to start with, initially, even just kind of with the censorship, you have a opportunity to hear different opinions or different ways of doing things. For me, kind of even in the business world, I felt like I was encouraged and kind of not so much like applauded to, but it was just really kind of the entrepreneurial spirit in America. Everybody is just very kind of encouraging and supporting and that's something definitely in growing up in communism. It didn't matter if you worked hard or not, because everybody would get paid the same way. It's not like you would be able to, get to a better position necessarily because you worked harder. It was just I mean, everybody was equal, and what was very kind of interesting, and I'm finally kind of overcoming that, being a successful in business, or being successful business owner or entrepreneur. Early on, I was feeling very, I guess the word is not guilty, but I was just almost like a little bit of ashamed. Because during communism, if you had money or if you were successful, it's usually because you were in the higher rankings in the Communist Party, right? I mean, there's no other way to maybe have necessarily a second home or travel on vacation or travel period or having kind of a higher income. The only way would be during communism that you were in the higher level in the Communist Party. And so for me, pretty soon, and that was kind of throughout the whole Czech Republic, after communism fell, it was really the people were kind of looking down almost at people which maybe were starting businesses or had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, because it was almost feeling like, where did you steal the money? Because it felt like there's no like a legitimate way to earn money because everybody is equal. And so being, in America and being part of all these different networking groups and how everybody is just kind of encouraging, for you to be successful, that was definitely something I had to kind of embrace. And even, I mean, I've been in business now for over 2 decades, and but it was probably not almost till like year 15 when I felt comfortable, and even like talking to my friends in Czech Republic and sharing the successes, or and even my parents, they are not really talking about the successes I have because they don't want people to feel like they are bragging. It's just such a different mentality. But a lot of it is just kind of how we've been raised and how, kind of like living kind of a frugal, kind of a lower
Income.
lower income, just kind of you don't want to stand out, just kind of because you don't want to, draw attention on yourself, or, whatever that is. And of course, it's been, over, what is it, over 30 years now since communism fell. And so things have changed. And of course, people have been able to travel now. And so they are seeing the differences. And so they are coming, even service industry has changed, because now people are traveling and they are like, well, I want it to be better serviced, and so now they are coming back to Czech Republic and maybe starting businesses which are focused on service. Because again, during communism, it didn't matter if you did good service or not. There is even a story, my husband, we were at a hotel and he asked for extra pillow, and this is pretty soon after communism, fell, and the lady brought in a extra pillow to the hotel room, and he was wanting to give her a tip, and she was just like horrified, kind of like, what did I do wrong that you feel like you need to pay me to do better? It's like, no, it's like, it's the other way around. I appreciate that you did care,
So they were almost looking at it as like a bribe versus a reward.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you're going to give me money to do better. I mean, it's crazy. But
yeah, I need you to do better.
Yeah. Well, we know there's, capitalism is not perfect, right? We have problems. But equal opportunity is so important. And that's what you saw in the American lifestyle, right? Is with capitalism, you have equal opportunity. You might not have equal results, right? It's based on your talents, your gifts, your work ethic. There's a lot of things that go into whether someone's quote successful or not. But the reality is, most people, if they work hard, Dr. Ben Carson's a great example of this. Not, his mother not even being able to read and teaching her kids how to read, and like she was giving him pop quizzes every day, and she couldn't even read the book, right? And how that education, then he became one of the top neurosurgeons, and the rest is history. Now most people know who Dr. Ben Carson is, but the reality of that kind of culture and freedom, that someone could come out of nothing and be something, right? Even though that might not be the result of every person, that ability to do that probably sets you free, that you could wake up in the morning and think, I can do or be whatever I want to be. Was that a different mindset to get into?
Yeah, I think it's, if you have a desire to go for it and to succeed or to work hard, when you have that desire in America, you have the opportunity to fulfill it. And yes, of course, I mean, I had my fair share of, falling down, and I have to, brush off my knees or however it is, and stand up and just go for it again. And but if you don't even have the opportunity to do so, it's just really, it's damping kind of your spirit. And if you cannot fulfill your dreams, not even having an opportunity to do so, it's so hard on a kind of on a human and humanity, and really even like the family dynamics, and just really kind of the whole structure.
Yes.
And it's interesting because I have a lot of different book signings, and I have so many immigrants coming to me, and kind of sharing their stories. I'm like, well, write a book. People need to hear that, because it's really, I think, people which immigrate, from other countries to America, they all have such a powerful stories. And and for me, I did not, escape communism. I did not have that kind of a traumatic where, I had to cross the borders, and and there was a, I could have been shot. I mean, there's definitely a lot of people which had to embrace all of that, or kind of brave all of that. Bless you. Or, being, leaving family behind, and not being able to tell any family members that they are escaping communism, because if they would be interviewed, you wanted them to answer honestly, not lie, because they would go to prison. And so I did not go through that kind of a hardship and that kind of a story. But I feel like one of the things what I'm able to share through the book is, because I lived half of my life in Czech Republic and half of my life in America, I feel like I have a kind of a unique perspective to be able to reflect on. And and of course, I'm still very connected to everybody and my family in Czech Republic, and I have a strong kind of a foundation here in America. And so being able to compare these two worlds, and give some insight, and just really kind of an opportunity to for people to see still somebody kind of at a younger age, it's like, wow, communism was not really that far away from me living. I mean, I was 15 when communism fell, but it created such a big impact on me, and still 30 years later, I'm still living some of those moments or the experiences. And when I was doing the research for the book, it was just very interesting because I would be, because I didn't want this book to be like a history book, because I'm definitely not like a historian.
Right.
This is really a memoir, biography, and kind of reflecting on my experiences. And it was just very interesting as I was doing some of the research. I would be like 2-3 hours in listening and reading interviews and watching YouTube, and and just kind of digesting all of that. And all of a sudden, I just kind of went back to my now, the current life. I'm like, wow, we are being censored, people's voices being shut down. So it was just very kind of emotional for me to write this book, and still in kind of in my voice and my neutral ways of looking at things, without being kind of triggered and pulled into, what we are kind of going through right now. But it was definitely very, telling. And, one of the, if I may, one
Yeah.
of the stories is, when communism took over Czechoslovakia at that time, in 1968, it was, there's this, hundreds of tanks rolling in, through Prague and through the streets. And guess where they were all heading first? It was the radio station.
Oh,
They
wow.
needed, they needed to shut down the voices, the free voice, because they didn't want that to kind of go throughout the country and throughout the villages and other cities. So their first destination was the radio station in Prague. And it was interesting. People were, of course, nervous. They didn't know what was going on, because it was pretty sudden when that happened. And so they were changing like the street signs, changing the directions, because the tanks were following certain direction. Now they kind of maybe get disorientated, and they were going different, street, because people were changing the street signs and kind of trying to quickly respond to the occupation. So,
So they cut off communication so that people couldn't freely communicate whatever news or whatever they need to communicate. And we're seeing, unfortunately, we're seeing that in America, right? When the
Mhm.
president of the United States gets pushed off a social media feed, that, whether we agree with what he says or not, that should not be happening in our nation. I think it was a moment where everybody had to take note and go, what's happening? Are private
Yeah.
companies able to dictate what we hear and what we take in and what we're receiving as far as news? So it's
Mhm.
really interesting to hear your story. I know this book was I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I had several plane rides with it. And I love how you talk about contentment and minimalism, even, and just being happy. And I think there's a lot that we as Americans can take from that. What we've been given, thankfulness in our heart for the ability to have a voice, the ability to be able to produce whatever we want to produce. Though things are not easy, though, life sometimes is hard, just putting it all in perspective, right, of what we've been given and how we can be thankful for what we've been given. So, Gabriela, thank you for sharing your story. What's the final word just for all the Americans out there that were born here of how to appreciate America? How do you appreciate America?
Well, I guess maybe just starting the day with gratefulness. Write down 3 things you are grateful for, and you will be amazed. Like one of my gratefulness, I put a dishwasher. I'm just like so excited. I have a dishwasher. Well, just know rest of the world does not maybe have a dishwasher. So,
Mm,
just being grateful for what you have, and just appreciating the opportunities that you can have conversations about. If it's about, you know. The freedom and opportunities, and just being able to actually have a dialogue. Not every country has an opportunity to have a dialogue, and just really for me, it's so much is about living in the present moment, and appreciating where you are right now, and do good for others. That's what for me, that's kind of what's fulfilling. Being able to make other people's lives better. And I feel like that's what America afforded me to do.
well, you have a beautiful story. I have a Romanian daughter-in-law, and we've been
Oh
back
yeah.
and forth to Romania many, many times, and so I'm so thankful for her being able to experience America and being here, and yeah, she always is so thankful and so happy, and it really puts things in perspective of what we've been given. And I think everybody should grab your book. So how can everybody grab your book?
So, everything from, if you are in Houston, there is a Brazos bookstore. If you are not in Houston, and we have it here in my business as well at the Motherhood Center, but Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, anywhere books are sold. And I'm actually working on an audio version right now as well. So excited about that. But yes, pretty much anywhere online.
Well, good. Well, this is a perfect size book, guys. It's an easy read. It's not, sometimes I give you these very, very large books. So this one's an easy read for this month. So you'll enjoy her stories of travel, the food, her business. I mean, all of it. I just love just really hearing from your voice, Gabriela, just gives you another perspective of what it means to be American. So thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us. And everybody grab her book. And then at the end of February, we're going to have a Zoom meeting. So you can register for that. And we'll be talking about the book. So just go to the christiansengaged.org website, go to book club. And then you can see how we'll have a link of how to order Gabriela's book on Amazon, but also to sign up for that Zoom meeting so you have accountability to read the book and then discuss it with us. And you can be anywhere in the United States and do that. So thank you so much for coming on. And all you guys down in the Houston area, go check out her business, the Motherhood Center.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Bye-bye.